Hi everybody, welcome to Still the Mom's Word of the Week. Today is February the 3rd, 2021, if you're watching this at another time. Sometimes people do videos and they don't do the date, and I'm thinking, how current is this information? Not that today's information I believe is timeless when you're doing a Word of the Week, but just in case it matters to you and just in case you're saying, oh my gosh, I need to look that one up again, maybe you'll remember that today's February the 3rd and you'll look that up from that perspective. Anyway, today's Word of the Week is empathy. To me, this is a very misunderstood word, and so I wanted to look at it because my friends and I have been talking a lot lately, and I've heard lots of people, I'm an empath, I'm an empath, I'm an empath. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Because there's times I've even referred to myself as an empath, but I feel like maybe there are varying degrees of empath. Anyway, I just thought it would be neat to explore empathy versus sympathy versus compassion, because those are all similar but quite different, and I think it'll be helpful to us, to you, and to me. So empathy is, the definition, the act of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another, of either the past or present, without having the feelings, thoughts, and experience fully communicated in an objectively explicit manner. And I know you're thinking, what? What that is you are... The person that you are sitting with and talking to, they have not explained to you how they're feeling, but somehow you're able to sense how they're feeling without them having explained it. In simple terms, that's what that means. So if you're ever sitting with someone and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this certain way, and I have a feeling that it's not my feelings, I have a feeling that it's their feelings, that's empathy. Sympathy versus empathy is the difference in meaning is usually explained with some variation of the following. Sympathy is when you share the feelings of another. Empathy is when you understand the feelings of another, but you do not necessarily share them. So, said another way, sympathy, you share the feelings of another, meaning you've had those same feelings before, so when they're explaining them to you, you're like, oh yes, I have felt that way before. Empathy is when you understand the feelings of another, but you don't necessarily share them, meaning you have not necessarily felt that way before, but there's something within you that's relating to the way that they're feeling. And then finally, compassion, sympathetic consciousness of others' distress together with a desire to alleviate it. So compassion comes with wanting to have an action of some sort to try to alleviate the pain of another. So I thought it best to get these three definitions out of the way before we begin our discussion, because I felt it would be helpful. It definitely helped me, because honestly I was a little bit confused about the differences between the three. The three terms, like I said earlier, they are very similar, but yet they're pretty different. So I may be empathetic toward your situation, experiencing your pain, and all without you ever having explained to me what is happening. And yes, I'm saying it another way, because sometimes people, even though I've said it this way and I've said it that way, I'm going to say it one more time, just because sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times to totally catch up with what it is that I'm learning. Many people call themselves an empath, like I mentioned at the beginning, which can be quite a burden to bear if one is not aware of how to process what they're feeling. Because you can feel waves of things coming at you or coming to you, and you don't know what to do with that. Some people are overwhelmed by that, and some people have learned to process that. I feel like it's important to learn to process that. This is the potential danger zone if you haven't learned to process. Because if I keep your sadness and anger in addition to my own emotions that I'm already feeling, I'm going to become overwhelmed. If I'm sympathetic, again, I share your sadness or anger or whatever emotion it is, in that I understand how you're feeling because I have also felt the same way at times, but I do not necessarily take on the weight of your emotions. Compassion goes beyond sitting with or feeling with someone into a desire to act. This can also be a danger zone, and here's why. Because often we can do nothing to resolve another's pain. We may want to, but there's nothing that we can do about it. We can certainly walk with them through the pain. That, to me, can be a form of compassion, but we are not God, and we cannot always remove the distress or pain. Sometimes we can, but that doesn't mean we should. And that's a whole other topic that we probably won't necessarily get into today. As a matter of fact, we've talked about this before. God does not always remove our pain, but He does promise to walk with us through it. So when am I supposed to enter into another's pain? And that, to me, that's like one of the most important questions. How do I know that this is mine to walk through with another person? That's a good question, and the reason is because I can't take on everybody's situation, and I can't process everyone else's life events. I believe that we have to be as objective as possible, asking God what our role in each situation is. And sometimes that's hard because we get caught up in the emotions of the other person, and before we know it, we're deep into the ocean with them. But you know what? Maybe that would require that we take a step back, take a deep breath, and say, okay, I need to be objective for a minute and figure out what is mine to do here. As an example for me personally, as our daughter continues to walk through the loss of her beloved fiance, which if you've read my blog, you've seen, I've talked about it. I've tried to be as open as I can about that. We are gladly walking that with her because she's our daughter. And so that is a boundary that belongs to me and my family. That is both empathy and compassion. And since she's our daughter, it's right for us to do. But boundaries would dictate that we pick and choose with whom we walk. And we cannot make apologies when we're not able to walk with someone through a situation. I know that it makes you feel guilty sometimes, and I understand that feeling of guilt that you can't alleviate everyone's pain, but we're not able to. We're human and we're finite, and we can't take on everybody's pain. But we can certainly pray for everyone. That's something that we can do. We can cast those burdens before God's feet. After all, He is the one who can bear all burdens, not us. Our shoulders aren't big enough to do that. So I hope that this short discussion helps you navigate the many situations that you're going to find yourself in this week, this month, this year, for the rest of your life. Hopefully this has been helpful. Remember to ask God for His input, His guidance, and His instruction, and He'll give you wisdom as you walk through your life while also helping those that you're walking with. And that reminds me of something that I have coming up. Beginning on February 17th, I'm beginning my very first Encourage Women's Small Group. It's a 6-week group. There's a registration fee, $19.95 for the 6-week group. Super reasonable price, but I wanted to make it very affordable if you'd like to be part. And the topic is boundaries. And I'm not teaching from a book, but I am teaching after having read the book Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, having read through this book for information, and also having read I Do Boundaries by Havilah Cunnington. If you want to grab these books and read through them, you can. It's not necessary for the class, but I feel like it's going to be good and helpful and beneficial for us to have a discussion on boundaries, because it's something that, whether I've mentioned it overtly or not, it's a theme that kind of runs through everything I talk about. What's mine? What's not mine? What should I do here? What should I do there? How should I handle the situation? So I definitely feel like this is going to be a great class, a great small group, because you're going to have the opportunity not only to hear from me some information, but I want to hear from you, and we're going to support one another and encourage one another. So please, if you're interested in that, do a comment below this video, or you can send me an email at maria@stillthemom.com, or you can go to my website, www.stillthemom.com. Scroll down to the bottom where it says Encourage, I encourage groups, and click the thing to get more information. However you want to get in touch with me, let me know. I'll get an email to you. Please include your email or some way for me to get in contact with you, and I'll get the information to you so you can get signed up. I think that concludes this week's Word of the Week. Empathy is our word, and then we compared it with sympathy and with compassion. And I hope today has been helpful. Thanks for joining me.